Hi, everybody. Coach Tiffany here. I help people heal their relationship with food and their body after years of struggling, and I help them to finally find peace and joy in their relationship with food and their bodies. All right, so today we're going to be talking about what is a diet? I know that might seem like a silly question and maybe a silly thing to devote a blog to, but I have really been a little annoyed, to be honest, lately at some of the ads that I'm seeing and some of the talk around this isn't a diet, it's a lifestyle change, or it's not a diet because I can eat whatever I want, these kinds of things. So things like Noom, intermittent fasting, keto, all of those things are a diet, like spoiler alert. So when I say diet, what I mean is not like the diet that we all eat. Everyone has a diet of food that they eat. When we're talking about diet, we're talking about the diet culture messaging around, should and shouldn't eat. So a diet would be anything that is an external way of measuring what you should and shouldn't eat, especially anything that is restrictive in any way. So Noom, it has a color system, right? And the idea is you shouldn't eat foods that are much foods that are red. You should only eat green foods, right? And intermittent fasting. While some people do intermittent fasting in a way that's like you're allowed to eat as long as you only eat between, during these 8 hours, it is still restricting because you are not eating when your body tells you to eat, but only eating, cutting off the amount of time that you can eat. So by diet, I mean anything that restricts how, what, when, why you are or should be eating. So, you're only allowed to eat, even intuitive eating can be turned into a diet. It can be turned into the hunger fullness diet. You're only allowed to eat when you're hungry, which is not actually intuitive eating. And it's not an appropriate use of intuitive eating. It's not the goal of intuitive eating. So anything that restricts either what you're eating, so it restricts the categories of food. So, you can't eat carbs, for example, or you can't eat meat even, right? So even in this sense of what we're talking about, vegetarianism or veganism could be used as a restrictive diet as well. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't choose that option. For some people, that does feel like the right choice for them in terms of ethics, right? But it is still restrictive in nature. And so keeping that in mind, that you may feel restricted, you may need other things to, you need to supplement with other things, right? To make sure you're getting all of the vitamins and nutrients that you need. So anything that restricts the types of foods that you can eat, the amount of food you can eat, and that is either the macros, like calories or the amount of carbs or any of those things. So anything that restricts when you can eat and anything that restricts even how you eat, like for example, the hunger fullness piece. All right, so a diet is any sort of restrictive plan for eating. Why is this problematic? Well, diets are problematic because they basically ask us to disregard our hungers or our body's signal, whether that's fullness and hunger, whether that's so some meal plans you actually have to eat a certain amount, right? And you might be full already, but you have to eat this much. So that can be, it can be used against us either way, right? So it asks us to disregard our body's signals and our desires. So when we are eating based on someone else's plan for us, or a should, then we don't necessarily stop to check in with our body. We don't build body attunement. We may be disregarding our body signals. And even if we're not actively disregarding them, we're not intentionally honoring them. So we're relying on something outside of ourselves, something external to guide our decision making around food. With intuitive eating, what we do instead is develop body attunement and make our choices based on body attunement. So use discernment. So we can still choose to have a salad, for example, rather than cookies for lunch. You can or you could choose to have the cookies rather than the salad, right? So we're using discernment based on, holistic information about our bodies. Sometimes I actually have eaten, um, probably not cookies for lunch, but I had um, what did I go? I went to like Menchie's. I don't know if you have that there, but I went to a frozen yogurt shop, right, where they have different flavors you can try and then you put toppings on it. I actually ate that for lunch one day and I used a lot of discernment in that decision. It was a fun adventure that my partner and I went on. It was something that sounded good to him and me. I think it was like an unusually warm day and we just were craving something fun. We went and ate that and then we were full and we didn't want to have anything else. And so that ended up being an entire lunch was just frozen yogurt. Now, if I did that every day, I probably wouldn't feel amazing. But that day, it was really fun, special. It actually was fulfilling, satiating, and I felt fine. I felt good. So, using discernment, right? We can choose based on a lot of information. Again, that choice was around having fun, and it sounded good. My body was like, "Yeah, that actually sounds really tasty and satisfying right now," and it was. Now, if I were um, in a rush. I might choose to get something fast. I might choose to just eat a bar, right? And that's using discernment as well. However, when those things become patterns where I'm eating things that maybe aren't as nourishing for my body all the time, or if I'm always in a rush and I'm never eating a proper meal, over time that probably won't feel good. But when we eat in a way that's attuned to our body, we're taking into account all of the pieces that um, contribute to what, when, why, how we should eat. So we consider vitality and nutrients and nourishment, but we also consider fun and satisfaction and joy and ease and our bandwidth. We also consider our hunger and fullness, but we can also decide, even if I'm not hungry, I want to enjoy this food for whatever reason. That's perfectly okay. So, yeah, so diets prevent body attunement and they prevent us being able to really um, use our own internal compass for our decisions around food. And again, this is problematic because we're disregarding our body's signals. So we're disconnecting from our body in order to do that. In order to really come to a place of secure attachment with food and secure attachment with our body, we have to build it on a foundation of self trust and connection. So when we continue to use diets, whether it's a lifestyle or, a diet in name, when we choose to restrict or eat based on some external measure rather than our internal compass, we continue to remain or continue to disrupt that trust with ourselves. So this is what diets are and why they're problematic. I hope that this was helpful for you today. Feel free to email me at tiffany@coachtiffanyrn.com, or if you have questions or comments or want support, or go ahead and take my quiz if you're curious about your food attachment style. It's at coachtiffanyrn.com/quiz. I hope you have a good day.